Yesterday, Jeremy Clarkson shut the farmer's dog. No warning, no long statement. On a Saturday that should have been fully booked, the doors stayed closed. Hundreds of customers had tables. The internet did what the internet does. The experiment was over. The celebrity pub had failed. The loss-making dream was finished. Enjoy the evening. You are all absolute superstars. Thank you. And also the food. Except that is not what happened. Not even close. Here is what the closure actually was. Clarkson shut the pub for one day to throw his entire team an epic party. His own words. A wonderful team who deserved it. And that single detail raises the question nobody in the mainstream press has properly answered since August 2024. How does a pub that loses money while fully booked actually work? The answer, buried in the filings and the on-ground operation, is simple. The farmer's dog is not a pub. It never was. Start with the number Clarkson gave the world. The farmer's dog posted a pre-tax loss of more than £8,000 in its first quarter. Every hospitality journalist in Britain ran that figure. Every pub trade publication repeated it. Clarkson's own line became the headline. A brilliant way of turning £100 into about 94 quid. Here is what none of those articles explained. The £8,000 loss is real, and it is completely irrelevant to whether the business works. The food side of the farmer's dog does lose money. Clarkson was not exaggerating. He was describing one part of a multi-arm business as if it were the whole business, and the press believed him because the press was looking at the wrong building. The farmer's dog serves roughly 200 covers on a busy day, British ingredients throughout, no Coca-Cola, no foreign ketchup, no coffee grown outside the UK, no avocado. The commitment to sourcing everything from Britain is absolute and deliberate and expensive. Food revenue on a strong week might hit £40,000. Food costs on British-only ingredients at premium prices eat most of that. Staff wages for a kitchen and front-of-house team eat the rest. That is the number the press ran with. That is the number that made headlines for months. And that is the number that tells you almost nothing about whether this business actually works. Because nobody asked the one question that matters. If the food loses money on purpose, what is it actually there to do? In its first year of operation, the farmer's dog sold over 500,000 pints of Hawkstone lager. 500,000 pints at £6.50 per pint. That is £3.25 million in beer revenue from one location. But here is the number that changes everything. When you buy Hawkstone lager at Tesco, Clarkson receives a wholesale margin. Perhaps £1 per bottle after the supermarket, the distributor, and everyone else in the supply chain takes their cut. When you buy Hawkstone at the farmer's dog, Clarkson is the wholesaler, the distributor, and the retailer simultaneously. He keeps the entire margin, approximately £4.50 per pint. £4.50 multiplied by 500,000 pints is £2.25 million in profit from a single product in a single location. The food that lost £8,000 is not the business. The food is the reason 250,000 people a year make the journey to a pub on the A40 in West Oxfordshire. They wait weeks for a table. They drink Hawkstone at the bar while they wait. Clarkson's own admission about the 94 quid is the most expensive misdirection in British hospitality history. And it worked completely. Now here is where the story usually ends for most people watching the news. But it should not. Because if you stop here, you still only understand 1/3 of what is actually happening at that roundabout. What has just become clear from studying the full operation at the farmer's dog site is that most people covering this story have been looking at the wrong building. The pub is one part of what exists at that old barrack roundabout. Sitting alongside it on the same grounds is the Grand Tour tent, the marquee that spent years traveling the world as the set for Clarkson's Amazon car show, now permanently pitched in Oxfordshire. Beside that tent, 3 separate businesses operate simultaneously. The Farmer's Pup, an outdoor kitchen serving food to customers who cannot get a table in the main restaurant. Faster service, simpler menu, lower cost per cover, and capturing revenue from visitors who would otherwise leave the site without spending on food. Every burger sold from the Farmer's Pup is income that did not exist before the tent arrived. Think about what that actually means. A customer who was about to walk away with nothing spent now spends anyway. That is not a side hustle. That is a leak in the business being sealed shut. Hops and Chops, a butcher shop. If you eat British beef at the Farmer's Dog and want to take some home, you buy it on the way out. Clarkson captures the retail sale that his restaurant just created the demand for. Most restaurants cannot do this. They serve you and you leave. Clarkson built a path from dining table to meat counter on the same site. This is the part most competitors will never copy, because it requires owning the entire supply chain from farm to fork, not just the kitchen. And the diddly squat farm shop outlet. Merchandise, Hawkstone products, local produce. A 25-pound t-shirt costs approximately £4 to produce. The 84% margin on every piece of merchandise sold through that outlet requires no kitchen, no chef, and no food hygiene certificate. It requires only one thing the pub already generates for free: footfall. Local press coverage and public planning filings referenced by industry commentators indicate that the 146 employees Clarkson has on payroll are not all working in a pub. They are staffing 3 businesses that happen to share a car park, with the pub anchoring the footfall that makes all 3 viable. 250,000 visitors a year. Not all of them get a table. Every single one of them can visit the tent. If this investigation is connecting dots that the mainstream press has missed, share this video right now. Not for the views, because every person who read Clarkson's pub loses money, and stopped there, deserves to know what the filings actually show. Hit share. If you are new here, this is Clarkson Files. We dig into the numbers nobody else bothers to check. Subscribe if you want the next one delivered straight to you. Here is the detail about the farmer's dog that sounds like a principle, but functions as a business strategy. Their supply contracts, their centralized kitchens, their cost structures, all of it is built on global sourcing. They cannot go British only and remain what they are. Clarkson built the one thing large competitors cannot copy and remain themselves. Before we go further, it is worth being honest about something. None of this is risk-free. Planning permission on temporary structures can be challenged at any time. British-only sourcing gets more expensive every year, not less. One bad council decision could unravel the tent, the pup, and the butcher counter overnight. Keep that in mind, because it matters more than it sounds like right now. In a recent interview with The Telegraph, Jeremy Clarkson said something that landed quietly and deserves considerably more attention. "I am done with business now. I am not starting another business as long as I live. I don't understand it, and I'm not motivated by money. I just want a good crack." Read that in the context of everything that has been documented about the farmer's dog's actual financial structure. A man who claims not to understand business built a pub that employs 146 people in rural Oxfordshire, generates £2.25 million in Hawkstone profit from a single location, operates 3 separate businesses under one tent using temporary structure planning rules, captures retail demand it creates through a butcher shop on the same site, draws 250,000 visitors annually to a building that sat abandoned for over a decade, and then closed for a day to throw those 146 people a party. The statement, "I don't understand business," from a man who has built that structure in 18 months, is either the most convincing performance of false modesty in British television history, or it is the most genuinely Clarkson thing he has ever said. He built all of this on instinct, on stubbornness, on a commitment to doing the opposite of what every business consultant would recommend. It is a pub where someone looked at the food numbers, ignored them, built 3 businesses around the one that actually prints money, and then threw a party when the whole thing worked. If this is the kind of story you want more of, subscribe to Clarkson Files and turn on notifications, because we are about to go deeper into how this whole site actually runs. Drop us a comment below. We'd genuinely love to know, did you visit the farmer's dog? And if you did, was the Hawkstone worth the queue? Thank you, as always, for watching.